we got a whole, and the live stream. We got our timing good. I don't want to jinx myself, but the live stream came right on. I didn't hear any like weird funnels or anything like that. I'm feeling good in all about this room today. So, not the smartest guy in the room. We got Tom. What's up?
I mean, I feel like you might have just jinxed us by talking about how perfectly things were going. I don't know. But I mean, who am I to say anything? Obviously, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Neither are you, because that's what we call this place, right?
That is a jinx. Like, nobody should ever say how good things are going. You know that they are not going that well. I mean, like if you were on a set and somebody said to you, "Hey, Tom, things are sure going good today," what would you do?
I'd kick them off set. No, no, but I would instantly be like, you go find some wood and you knock on it, like would throw some salt over your shoulder, whatever you got to do. Like, do not and bite your tongue and don't say anything like that ever again, because now that son of a bitch Murphy is going to pop out of nowhere and make all the things go wrong that could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in this. I'm going to go motivational early, but I am told that sometimes the big man only gives you what you can handle. So when all these things are going wrong, somebody might think, wow, Tom or Debbie or Johnny, you really, I believe in you and you can handle a lot. And so maybe I saw the other day, this is a separate, I saw a post. It says, if somebody's hotter than you, that means you are cooler than them. I mean, come on, it's all good. So, all right. So here, me and Tom were in the back. I'm already fired up here. We were talking about book publishing. We were talking about passion, purpose, launches, and like launch fatigue. And the first thing Tom has a book coming out. And the first thing that I thought was very important, I asked him, I said, well, are you planning to like sell every book through your website, or are you pushing people to Amazon or somewhere else? Why are you doing that? And the reason, like some people, the margins might be better through your own website, or maybe you have a program, or maybe you're using the book as a funnel to get them in some other program. So they go to your website and now they're there and they buy into some $3,000 program that changes the world. Okay. Or are you saying, I want to push everybody towards Amazon because I know that at 50 or 100 reviews, Amazon starts suggesting this book, and it's more likely that people are going to see it, because now in the bottom, you are seeing, like if you scroll down through your Amazon page, if you're buying something, it will say things that you like, things that other people are buying. And usually those, if it's books or something, they're things with a lot of reviews, because Amazon's in business to make money. So they want to sell things that made them money, that they know people like, that get them good reviews. So if your book has that, then you're more inclined to sell through Amazon. But now back again, I told you I'm fired up. Once you go to Amazon, you are giving up money. You are giving up a portion of your sales. So if you're in business and you're saying, well, I gave up money. Well, we didn't talk about money yet. We talked about the funnel. So if I'm giving up money, maybe my idea was to take my family to Disney World, and I needed $5,000 or $10,000. And if I make $10 a book and I sold 200 books, that's 2,000. If I sold 10 bucks, if I sold 400, okay, that's 4,000. I'm right. I'm close to Disney World. Okay. So that's where we're starting. Tom, do you have all these answers? Go on.
No. No, I don't have answers to all those questions. So, in my last conversation with my publisher, last week, there's actually some stuff going on with, print on demand, that she's been encountering with some of her other authors. And so, having some early conversations about potentially doing, instead of going straight print on demand route, potentially doing some working with some printers to do some small runs, maybe some more traditional distribution. So there is a chance, depending on how things shake out, that I may be more focused on a more traditional distribution, and maybe in some small, maybe in some bookstores, and kind of that sort of situation. I mean, my inclination is to not go through Amazon as much as I can for a couple of reasons. One is, yes, a lot of people go to Amazon to find books, but at the end of the day, I'd rather support small businesses and local businesses. I'm not a big fan of Amazon's business practices, especially in the retail space. And so I'd much rather put my time, effort, and energy into supporting, local booksellers and online spaces that sell through local booksellers, right, and that support local bookshops. So that's number one. Number two, you and I kind of touched on this a little bit, but obviously the Amazon bestseller is a bullshit metric, and that's kind of become widely. I think a lot of people realize that, like, maybe not, it's not sort of part of the public discourse yet, but anybody who's kind of even around books much, even people who are like voracious readers, know that the Amazon bestseller, thing is kind of a bullshit metric, right? Because you can make a tiny category, there could be 5 books in that category, and you're one of the top 5 bestsellers in that category automatically, right? So it's kind of bullshit. So I'm not really worried about that either. At the end of the day, the goal of the book is really twofold, and they kind of both serve the same thing. It's to change the way people think and understand communications from businesses and the way businesses market to their communities. And number 2 is to help me grow my business so that I can magnify that impact and really have an effect on the scale that I want to have, to fulfill that mission I talk about in here all the time of humanizing the world of business through better communication, right? So like they're kind of both in service of the same mission, right? Humanizing the world of business through better communication. And by helping me grow my business, that's something hopefully I'll be able to do on a broader scale, right? To have a bigger impact, to affect more change in the world. So ultimately for me, the question is this, what's the best route towards maximizing that impact? Right. So I don't really care about, I'm not hung up on like, am I making $1 more per book if I sell through my website versus another way? I'm not gonna worry about the nickels and dimes of it. Right. I'm more worried about the broader impact. That's really the goal of the book. If that makes sense. I mean, I think sometimes thinking about it in terms of the mission and the goal, helps direct the path that you take, right? I don't know, from your publishing perspective, Dom, how does that make sense?
100%, man. You got to know, my thing is, where do you want to be in 5 years? And that's, to me, how you set up everything you're doing. Well, am I trying, like, let's say a course, really, like I have a doctor that has a course right now, like in a course and therapies and things like that. For him, it is get people to go to the website and then read his literature, and all of a sudden you believe, he can help me with pain, he can help me with inflammation, he can help me with these other things. Now I will go be a client of him because I read this. And so that is a broader sense of why he's doing it. Somebody else, okay, well, I feel like this metric, the Amazon metric. Hey, anything like Amazon number 1, it's still a quiver. What, arrow in your quiver? Is that what they say? Is it a quiver in your, what is it arrow? Is the quiver the thing that holds them? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's an arrow in your quiver. The quiver is the container, right, that holds the arrows. It's the thing that goes on your back when you gotcha. When Robin Hood pulls an arrow, he's pulling an arrow out of his quiver and then knocking it on his bow before he fires. Anyway, But yeah, it's the quiver. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So you getting an Amazon bestseller is still an arrow in your quiver. Oh, good. Okay. But if you think it's going to change your life, it is not. And it's a snapshot in time. So you can like, okay, at first it's a hot new release. It's in your category. Then you get a badge. Then you get a badge that stays longer. Then they might send something to you. So there are levels of it. Then to get New York Times bestseller, I think they need 5,000 books sold in the first week. I mean, that number and multiple lists number one on. So there's multiple components as you move up the Amazon is more easy manipulated, like Tom says. So you could, like I see people that are number one in free books. I mean, who cares? I'm sorry. Imagine I gave away the most free books and you can be number one in free books. Why would somebody want to do that? But for number one, I was number one in one category for one moment in time, an hour, however. And Amazon does always, they are constantly changing their algorithms. Like back in the day, you used to be able to just submit all of them on all your books on one day, and they would load them all in at that time, and you'd instantly go number one. Well, now with pre-orders and things like that, it's changed. So they keep changing it and tweaking the credits and everything that you get per book so that you can't game the system. Now, there's still gaming the system being done, but anyway, we're going to keep, see, I can go on and on this. Not the smartest guys in the room. Dr. Tachi, we're talking fatigue. We're talking books. We're talking media. We miss you. So what do you got for us? Give us a tip or share a thought with us, Dr. Tachi.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I miss you all too. I hope everyone is doing well. You know what resonated with me is when Tom was talking about what a rubbish metric the Amazon bestseller list is. And to be honest, you can look at almost anything that way and see through the rubbish, because ultimately, and this just is coming to me because it's still award season is trailing off because we just had the Tonys. But when you look at these things, those things are great, and it's nice to be measured or congratulated by your peers, quote unquote. But does that mean that your things are not valid or that your work is not great if you don't receive all of these accolades? No, because again, it's a very small community, and obviously many of these, for example, awards, it's a small community of people that are picking from the larger community of creators, and they have a very particular lens. They see within a very particular tunnel, and so they don't really see outside of that tunnel, which is why people who are doing great things may not get congratulated. But if you hinge your success on making all these lists on, and it doesn't mean that it's not good, but if you hinge your success or your level of creativity or how good your stuff is on all of this, you're always going to be chasing something. So I would say that the true marker of that is how it affects other people. Even if it's a handful of people who came and say, your stuff really changed my life. Your book did so much to move me forward. Your videos are so engaging. That's the handful of people that matter. And maybe it doesn't translate always into immediate dollars, but down the road it will. So that hit me because of what Tom said. So I wanted to address that, and I am complete.
Dr. Tachi, that was fire. Good stuff. Tom, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I love that, Dr. Tachi. Thanks for sharing that. I 100%, I talk about it in here all the time. Dom and I talk about this a lot. Like, I'm all about playing the long game, right? At the end of the day, what I want to accomplish isn't going to happen today, tomorrow, or next week, right? And I'm not interested in quick fixes. I'm not interested in shortcuts. I'm not interested in hacks or band-aids, right? If you want to affect real change, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency. And that's really what I'm after. And so, yeah, in the short term, in the near term, would it be amazing to hit a bestseller list, right? A meaningful bestseller list. And like Dr. Tachi said, they're all sort of like, varying degrees of junk metrics, but maybe one that's a little bit harder to hit than an Amazon random category on Amazon bestseller list. Would I love to do that? Yeah, that'd be amazing, right? But that's not my goal, right? My goal is not to have best-selling author after my name. That's not why I wrote the book. That's not why I'm publishing the book. That's not why I have plans for ways I'm going to, kind of further the work of the book through a series of workshops and educational programming that we're working on putting together to coincide with the book when it launches. None of that has to do with putting bestseller after my name. So if that happens, great, icing on the cake, right? But at the end of the day, I'm after something much bigger and much more valuable in the long run than just a little bit of icing on top, right? So that's what I'm working on, and yeah, it's 100% what Dr. Tachi said resonated with me too. It's I think it's about putting in the long game, putting in the work, right, and showing up.
We love the long game in this room. We're all about it, man. I just saw a thing the other day that said it takes 10 years to build a brand. And so we talk to a lot of people in these rooms, building brands, starting something new. 10 years. I mean, just think about, I go back to like restaurants. So I used to be a restaurant owner. Some of you guys know that, you might not. I failed. I lost $500,000. But in my mind, there's always this thought process of, even if you like a restaurant, it takes let's think, you guys think of your favorite restaurant. And when was the last time you were there? And was it 3 months? Was it a month? Your really favorite? Was it 6 months? Do you go 3 times this week? So when you start something here, even if the people like you, once they come in, once they find you, well, they might not come back for 3 months. They might not come back for 6 months. You might not be in their vortex all the time. So it takes time to develop where you're watching. I want more of Tom's content. I'm liking Tom's content. Now Tom has a book. I need Tom all the time. And then eventually you get to that point where it's like, okay, this is my Starbucks. I'm going there. I'm going there every day because I like it so much. And that's what building a brand is like. It's a name. It's a logo. It's a concept. It's a purpose. It's impacting one, impacting two, going out in the community and doing some of the things that you're saying you're doing, helping these people. You can't say your brand isn't built because you said, I want to help people. You have to help people. And then as people see that, as you're out there making impact, as Tom goes out, Talex Media goes out and does events, and Dr. Tachi's out doing her media and doing her show, all of a sudden you're watching her live stream and the brand is being built. Little by little, one day at a time. So, Debbie, you got a book out. You are sharing your story, and you are like blowing up in a way because people are being impacted by your story. So, will you tell us about, if you don't mind, sharing how that feels to have people talk about the story and share things with you? Go on.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's hard to really kind of follow up on what Tom and Dr. Tachi said. I totally agree with both of you guys in getting my book. For me, my book was to raise awareness on the red flags and subtleties of gaslighting and domestic abuse, so that others, first of all, might not get into those situations, or if they are, they can find ways to get out and successfully rebuild their lives. So that's my message. Obviously using social media to get it across. The book is on multiple platforms. Just, I don't know where those seeds are going to get planted. This last weekend, I was actually at a networking event in Virginia Beach, and, where I met with some independent film actors and filmmakers, to tell my story. Had an opportunity. I sold several books. I'm just trying to find avenues to get my story out and raise that hope. And little bit by little bit, I do go into certain situations with my own day-to-day job in those industry events, and people have noticed, and they've commented and basically keep encouraging me to do what I'm doing. So that's what keeps me going and keeps the passion, is when you see the light go off in their eyes, that when you tell your story, that it's resonating. And, all too often, sadly, people will have told me that, yes, they've gone through similar situations. So that's what keeps me going. And I land my plane.
Debbie, that's beautiful. And it's the purpose, it's the passion. So that's what's so wonderful about that. And all those things, Debbie never said that it's to make $1 million. She never said it's to be famous. It's just to help other people that are maybe going through something similar, that's something that she's been through. Maybe they can read her story and think, hey, maybe there's some signs and I should get out or set things up a little differently. So thank you, Debbie. We appreciate you, and thanks for sharing. All right. Not the smartest guys in the room. For anybody new, we thank you for being here. Anybody who's been here before, well, we love you and appreciate you. Thank you. You drive. I was going to say you drive the boat. I think that's weird. I don't know that you drive.
I don't think that's a saying.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. Do you? I mean, because but you don't sell the boat. You sell some boats, but not every boat.
I mean, I think technically, like you would refer to piloting just about any boat as sailing the boat, right? Like it's sort of referred to, like you don't talk about like, well, I'm not driving my boat from here to there. Like we're setting sail, even if you're not on a sailboat, right? It's sort of the colloquial term, I think, for navigating on water in a boat. But I don't know. It kind of sounded like you were like, because I do this, so maybe I'm just putting this on you because it's something that happens to me. But like I will try to, I'll try to say something and I'll end up combining like two phrases in mid sentence, right? So I'll be like, like trying to say like drive the bus, right, and float the boat, and I'll end up saying drive the boat, right? So I don't know if like that was something that was like it was whatever floats your boat, or whatever drives the bus, or like whatever keeps the wheels on the bus turning, or whatever it was, and it just kind of like got combined in your head. I don't know. That's what it would have been if it was me.
Hey, that reminds me. I was going to say float the bus. You guys, I was in anything that floats a couple of weeks ago. Anything that floats. So we, you'll see the video in a week or so, and we build a boat out of 55-gallon drums. We put a platform on top of it, and we bolted bikes to the top of it. And I don't know that it went very well, but it's coming soon. You will see that. Okay, Johnny, you got to tell us.
Did it sink?
I can't tell you that, man. I went into the day thinking I wasn't going to get wet, and that is not what happened.
So what you're saying is no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Okay.
No spoilers. All right, Johnny, tell me about this. Buy me a cup of coffee. Tell us about selling books because you're good at it. What do you got for us, my friend?
Well, I don't know that I'm good at selling books. Good morning, friends and foes. This is John Pica, and I am an author and an entertainer and a podcaster. But I do, I'm a published author, and I have one industry bestseller for the magic community. I'm a champion magician, so I wrote a book on performing magic, and it's an industry bestseller. Way back in 2007, it was an industry bestseller. Nobody really cares. That's the thing. After the initial hit, nobody cares. I can say I am a world champion magician and best-selling author. And that and $1 will get me a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. Not Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. And I have several other, fiction books that I've written. And yes, I do sell them through Amazon because that's where people are going. And but the majority of the money I make from my books is selling them at live events. I do conferences and festivals and conventions, and when I attend those, I'm doing panels and workshops and promoting my book. I'm selling the book on the vendor floor, and that's where I sell out. That's where I make the most money. A book that I buy from the publisher at wholesale at $4, I sell for $15, and that's it's a pretty good profit margin. And that's how I sell the majority of my stuff, is face-to-face, hand-to-hand. And on the magic book, Theatrical Magic, that I wrote, this is something for anyone who has written a book for business or for, that can be turned into a workshop. I sell it at workshops. Well, I quote unquote sell it. I give it away for free to people who attend my Theatrical Magic workshop. The book cost me $4 to print. It retails for $20. I charge $20 when I do a show per ticket. So if you wanted to buy a ticket to see my show, it's going to be $20. So my workshop price is $40. You see the math here? I'm getting my ticket price and I'm selling a book at retail every single time, every person who comes through the door. Anyway, something to think about. I'm Johnny. I'm done. Ta-da!
Johnny, fabulous, man. And I want to jump on that real quick and say one of the first authors that I worked with, he was already making 5 figures to speak at the time. And he had it figured out so quickly that at some of his speeches, he would work in that everybody bought a book, like that the company that paid him, let's say 12 grand, 15 grand, whatever, to come speak. Then he would figure out, okay, there's 300 people in the room. There was a book price added right in there, just like Johnny's saying. And that was on top of the speaking fee, but they were able to separate that. Any of you speakers out there, schools will pay a different price. They have budgets for books and they have budgets for presenters and things like that. So you can, if you were packaging your price as a speaker to a school, you could package it both ways. You could sell your books for, let's say Johnny told us about the margins there. Your margin you could make more in the margin and up your speaking price just by selling. Go on, Johnny.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I 2 years ago I published. I can't believe it's already been 2 years ago. Holy cow, where is the time gone? I published an original comic book called The League of Impossibilists, and it's only on digital right now, Amazon and Comixology. We never went to print, or we haven't gone to print yet. But I released it, and 2 days later, just out of the blue, I get a notice from Amazon that it was number 1. And it stayed at number 1 for 2 weeks on the Amazon chart for graphic novels, new release graphic novels. And that blew me away. It was just by accident. And, I was outselling a Superman and a Batman graphic novel, which blew my mind. But here's my point about nobody really cares. So I thought, okay, I've got this best-selling steampunk graphic novel. Surely these steampunk conventions will want to book me as a guest. Well, they didn't care that I had a best-selling release. They were like, "Oh, we're already full. We did that a year ago. Talk to us some other time." Well, a year later, it's not a bestseller anymore, and nobody cares anymore. So don't hang your hat on those metrics and those accolades, because just plug away, do your thing, make the money that you can make selling it direct, and but don't worry if it's a bestseller or not, because at the end of the day, nobody cares.
Right on, Johnny, man. I'm just thinking of when about Johnny's comments and when Dr. Tachi was saying earlier about like in film and things. Do you ever see those lists where they'll show you like a year, like Forrest Gump won all these awards? Like there's other great movies that came out that same year, and you look at it and you're like, holy cow, that's my favorite movie. I don't know, let's say it's Shawshank or whatever came out that same year. I just went to see Billy Joel a couple weeks ago up in New York, and so I'm listening to old Billy Joel songs and love Billy Joel. The guy's been around for 40 years at this point. Piano Man, his most famous song, he is considered the Piano Man, like topped the charts at like number 23 or something like that. And then songs like We Didn't Start the Fire, which is not my favorite song. We Didn't Start the Fire was one of his number one hits. I guarantee if you asked Billy Joel what song gets him the most accreditation, what song people love, what song do they ask him to play every night for 40 years, it is not We Didn't Start the Fire. So sorry, anybody that loves We Didn't Start the Fire. But okay, Tom, what do you want to say? Go on.
Well, I just wanted to say I actually, for once, because of the conversation going on, I actually feel kind of smart, which is not my usual place in this room, right? But yeah, I actually feel kind of smart because one of the things that I'm doing, I talked about having educational programming that we're planning to start to coincide with the release of the book. Part of that is to create a workshop series where we actually help teach entrepreneurs, early stage startups, small businesses how to employ a legendeering strategy for their business, right? Folks that are of a scale that they're not quite able to afford to hire somebody like me or like Talex Media to produce this content for them. They have to kind of bootstrap it and do it themselves. We want to help them, right? And we want to kind of change this communication style from the ground up. And I think that's the way to do it. So we want to put together these workshop series. One of the things that I'm planning to do is to include in the registration for each of those workshops is to build into the price a copy of the book. So everybody who registers and participates in those workshops, who buys into the workshop, right, gets a copy of the book, right? To go along with the workshop so they can actually, follow along with the work and have it as a reference going forward once the workshop is over. So I actually kind of feel smart because I feel like, that's sort of along the lines of what other folks, you and Johnny specifically, were talking about in terms of like how to build in pricing to other programming. So cool.
100%. Okay. So we're going to go to Satva came off. So we'll go to Satva, then Charlie. Go on, Satva. What do you got for us, man?
Oh, I came off? That was a total mistake. But yeah, I'm here now. I'll just speak from my area of expertise. So for the past 10 years, I've been moving specialized freight systems, and the grind is brutal. But I fell in love with it, and I realized that that's just part of life. Once you fall in love with the grind, if you really like what you do, it doesn't even feel like a grind anymore. So at this juncture, I'm in Colorado right now, and I'm picking up some different skilled trades. My skilled trade is brick, block, stone, masonry. That's my family's trade. That's the one that I had learned initially. Right now, I'm learning everything else from carpentry to flooring to tile work to mild plumbing. And one of the things that I'm going to share, and it's very vulnerable share, which I don't mind, is people don't show you their colors until they show you their colors. Yeah, I know, so profound, changed your life, right? Well, let me tell you, I got a crash course in this, and my quote unquote friend, I call him my frenemy because at this moment he is a frenemy, and I have to work with this person because this person's kind of like my mentor in a way. But anyways, I already got my exit strategy, and that's all good there. But what the whole thing is when I came out here and I started these trades, I learned. Let's say it like this: I was excited to learn, and I'm still excited to learn. However, the people that we work next to, by golly, if you don't like the people that you are working next to, you're not a tree. Get up and move, because life's too short to deal with effery, we'll just say. And that's all I got for now. Thanks, man. Like being here.
Safa, brother, we appreciate you, man. Good tip, man. Good drop. Good mic drop, tip drop, whatever. All right. Charlie Ciparelli, man. What do you got for us today, man? How you been?
I'm good. What I got here a little late. What is the topic today?
Charlie Cifarelli, well, I'm going to ask you something else. We were talking about books. We were talking about publishing strategies, like your book comes out. And so, like, let's say I think you decided to sell your book now straight from your website and at events and things like that, rather than mess around with Amazon and stuff like that. Different strategies. So we were talking about why people do different things. So that's what I wanted. Then I'm going to throw out another one for the room to consider. I was listening to an Ed Sheeran interview. Love Ed Sheeran. I think 20 years from now, people listen to his songs and act like he's Billy Joel. Anyway, so Ed Sheeran talks about on Instagram. He says everybody on Instagram. He said Instagram's a marketing tool. And well, number one, Ed Sheeran, I will say to him, no shit. So that the fact that he didn't know this and is now like surprised that people are using this distribution platform as a marketing tool, he was like, this is the worst thing ever. So he says you won't see a picture of him, like he called it, like a selfie of him on any of his Instagram. He said because he doesn't believe in this and blah blah blah. Okay. But maybe, like, I like Ed Sheeran. I'd like to see Ed Sheeran. So if Ed Sheeran posted a picture of him doing whatever, I would think it's interesting. I would accept more Ed Sheeran selfies. I want more. So, Charlie, you can tackle that diverse topic if you want. Go on, my friend.
Okay, I'll try to crystallize what I hearing from you, Dom, is this. Every door that's closed has been a blessing for me. And I love this saying. The door doesn't open, it's not your door. So I spent a ton of time on TikTok building up a platform, and I lost that overnight. Millions of views gone. So it brought me back to the drawing board. And I said, what is the most important message I want to get out on my personal website? And I'm lucky to have my name.com. Not everybody can get their name.com. And I have my name.com. And that is my book. Because the public has told me this book that talks about my penitentiary days working on death row, the saving of a dog that came back from death, this crazy background I had is really a love story. The public told me that. I didn't tell that. The people that reach out to me tell me this is a love story. So in the last few weeks, I've been working on this. So I think it's so important to invest in oneself. And I think the biggest part of that is, if this is my benchmark, this is my message, my book, I need to celebrate that on my own website. And listen, the overflow on Amazon is fine because some people don't want to go to your website. Fine, you could find it on Amazon. But the most important thing is I'm celebrating it. Even if the sales are smaller on my own website, the feedback is tremendous. And that's the important part of this, Dom. And I just want to say this also. I think it was last week or so I was complaining about I lost my platform on TikTok, and I got really good feedback from you guys. So on Monday of this week, 2 days ago, I got familiarized with 3 letters that I would have never known what they meant. LOI. I received a letter of intent on Monday that a film producer wants to do my story. So you never know when the miracle is going to happen. You never know. My best intentions of my message really wasn't what I thought it was. The public received it differently. And when I tried to talk to this film producer, and this was a few weeks back, I told him all this great stories about this dog that was shot, came back to life. She's in there with Lassie. It's an incredible story. He came back and he said, no, the dog story is part of your life. You carry a message of hope, love, and you've been redeemed from addiction, every adverse thing that could happen to a human, and you've kept your chin up. And it was very humbling. And it's really, I mean, when I pushed and shoved for this thing to happen, and I reached out to Russell Tiller, I think his name is, and many other producers, they took my time. I took their time, and nothing happened. The minute I relaxed, realized some doors weren't opening, this event has come to pass, and it's really amazing. And then I did my first show since I've come back from a stroke from a woman that I really respect, Raven Blair Glover, who I used to see on CNN and different platforms interviewing the celebrities. And she reached out and we did a show together, which is a big deal for me because I would have never thought women and men of power as a former correctional officer and a trash man that I would ever have a platform. So hopefully I answered your question. I know I had a heavy word count there, but I'm going to drop my mic right there.
Charlie, man, I'm a fan. Don't leave us in the. I wonder if Charlie's going to forget about us when he goes big time. Charlie, are you? Let's ask him right now. To get his answer. Will you forget about us, Charlie?
Listen, I feel as though the answer to that question is no, because I sold a commercial trash business to a national company. And if that can give a regular guy a shot of ego, going from driving a Pinto to the Bentleys, it didn't change me who I was inside. So I doubt this is going to change me one bit. I am who I am.
Right on, brother.
And like Johnny said, to my friends and foes.
Heck yeah, brother. And me and Charlie did walk around Penn State together. We had lunch. He's a fit guy, looked good. So he was his I don't think he's going to change. Thanks, Charlie.
Last thing, Dom, the public needs to know this. You've mentioned it last week. I've never heard anybody say this, but you said you actually look like your profile photo. And Dominick does look like his profile photo. He's a very energetic, very good energy guy in person, just as much as he is when he does stuff online. I love you, brother. Big hugs.
Thanks, man. What is it with people not looking like their profile picture? Like you show up and you don't look like your profile picture? Isn't that odd? Like, I mean, I get if you want to turn your head sideways. Like, you ever hear about like Sylvester Stallone when he first started? He would only like try to film from one side because he believed he had a better side. So,
oh my gosh,
go on, Johnny. What do you think about this? What,
Dom? Let me just tell you. So, in the entertainment business, in the live theater business, I audition people all the time, and you would be amazed at how many people show up to an audition with their headshot, and their headshot doesn't look anything like them in real life. It would blow your mind.
Catfish.
Same as real estate agents. Real estate agents do the same thing.
Yeah, right, Julie. So, Tom, anybody want to say, should you, like, especially like if you're in like media, like production and stuff like that, like, but can't people like cut their hair and wear makeup and stuff like that to make them look a certain way? Or are you mad when somebody shows up and they look different?
Oh, I hate it. Look, I update my professional promotional photos every 6 months because I change, and it drives me crazy. I have a good friend who they were a magic duo, and their promotional pictures were like from 30 years ago when they were in their 20s. They're in their 50s now. They don't look anything like those photos anymore. They still look great. They just don't look like those people. And it's false advertising. You need to, if you're in business, whatever business it is, you need to be doing professional headshots at least once a year, but more frequently if possible, because every time you change a look, you need to update that professional image. I'm Johnny. I'm done.
Go on to Tom. Let's go, Tom, and then I think that would go on.
Yeah. So thanks, Tom. Yeah, I mean, look, like people, I think people have gotten in the habit of like, first of all, if they're taking their own pictures, their own profile pictures for social media profiles and things like that, people have gotten the habit of using filters on pictures, right? And over editing their pictures so they don't really look like them. They're using all the like this sort of skin smoothing filters and stuff like that to try to like take age off their faces and et cetera, et cetera. So people definitely fall into that bad habit. I think also probably it's a product of bad photographers, right? For people who are paying like real estate agents that Julie mentioned, I bet you that, first of all, real estate agents, I know for a fact, don't want to spend a ton of money on headshots, right? And so what they end up doing is they often go to the lowest bidder, right? And often the lowest bidder is not a great photographer. And they end up producing headshots that like kind of look good, but don't really look like the person that they're taking the picture of, right? And at the end of the day, the headshot is supposed to give people a realistic perspective on what you look like, right? That's the purpose of a headshot, especially in a casting context like Johnny was talking about. The purpose of the headshot is so the casting agent actually knows what to expect. So if you don't look like your headshot in a professional like in a professional setting, you need to fix that. I think it's less important, for realtors and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, you're not going to work with a realtor because they look a little bit different than their headshot, or their headshot might be a little bit older. Should they have updated headshot? Absolutely. Like, right. Should they always be putting their best foot forward? Definitely. But it's not the same thing as a headshot for like, for an actor or a performer. They're a little bit different, I think. Can't really go in the same category. What I wanted to actually say, I wanted to jump back a little bit to what Charlie was talking about. I wanted to say this before we got sidetracked with headshots. And that was, Charlie was talking about this producer who sent him the letter of intent, kind of talking about all the adversity that he's faced and always keeping his chin up and always keeping his head up and kind of moving forward, like after facing things that would have overwhelmed a lot of people. Right. And that the producer actually took inspiration from Charlie's story. And I think it's important. It reminded me of something, we hear people talk about imposter syndrome all the time. Right. And it's something that a lot of us kind of have to some degree. Right. If we're humble at all, I think we've got a little bit of imposter syndrome going on. But I think it's also really important to try to, every once in a while, to try to see yourself the way other people see you. Right. And it made me think of this thing that my wife, Becky, does that always kind of just, makes me smile. And it's whenever I share an accomplishment with her, whether it's something small, like, a project I just finished or video I just made, a quick thing I just turned around for a client, or something big like, hey, I got approached by a publisher and I'm going to write a book, right? Whatever it is, whenever I share an accomplishment with her, her traditional response is she'll say to me, "You're so cool." And it's a silly little thing that she says to me. But it really reminds me to kind of to see myself a little bit sometimes the way she sees me, and to remember that like I should take pride, not be overwhelmed with narcissistic confidence in myself because of the things I accomplished, but I should take a moment to take some pride in the accomplishments that I've hit in my life and the things that I achieve. And so, whenever something like that happens, I just try to have in the back of my mind, I hear Becky saying, "You're so cool." And I just wanted to remind everybody here, every once in a while, just try for a minute. It never lasts much longer than that for me, but try for a minute to see yourself the way other people see you, and just enjoy the pride that kind of washes over you as you do that. And then, get your feet back on the ground and keep moving forward. But take that minute and just try to see yourself the way other people see you. And I think that's what Charlie was doing, was taking a minute to really see himself the way that producer saw him, and being proud of himself for it. And it's okay to be proud of yourself. You just, got to keep moving forward and not get overwhelmed by it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Love it, man. There's some of us, and I'm guilty of this a lot of times. You set so many goals. You want to set a goal. You want to set a goal. You want to set a goal that you don't stop and smell the roses. You don't appreciate the moment. You worked so hard. And I've said this in here before, but I guarantee that like you look at something and where you're at right now. What's today's date? Somebody tell me today's date.
It's the 14th, June 14th.
It's the 14th.
Okay, good.
June 14th.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you, man. See, Jason's listening. I was just seeing if anybody was listening to anything I was saying, but only Jason. Thank you. Okay, no, seriously. Think about June 14th. If 5 years ago you could have said, I'll be right here on June 14th of this year, I think most people had been like, holy shit, like Charlie, Ella, letter of intent, Tom about to write a book, Satva with his company, holy cow, man, all these things. Julie's interviewing Gary Vee. I mean, so many cool things that we would have said, hell yeah, I'd sign on in a minute. But now that you're there, you're like, wait a minute, I need to be here. We talk sometimes. I said to my wife one day, we were talking about something. I said, well, you can't move the goalpost mid-game, and that's a football analogy, right? All of a sudden, you move the goalpost. You say, well, you don't score at the end zone. You score, we moved it back another 10 yards. And I think so many of us are guilty of doing that. Well, just stop. And I'm guilty of it. Like when we talk authenticity, like I might not, like I try not to ever share bad news with you guys and like bring people down. I got shit going on that's bad sometimes, So like when you talk authenticity, I'm there, man. I am one of these people that moves the goalpost every stinking day. I am guilty to a fault of moving the goalpost. It doesn't matter what I do. I'd be like, I should do more. I should have done more. I could have done this better. I looked like shit that day. My tan wasn't good enough. My hair wasn't good enough. Should have got a haircut first. Should have sold more. Should have done this. I do it every day. But hey, that's just me. So sorry, man. Let me jump on that soapbox. Go on, Charlie. Charlie, then Tom. Yep.
Dominick, you are constantly posting motivational stuff, and most of it is don't quit. Don't quit. You have no idea how close you are. And look, there are days I'm not feeling good, and I look at it and say, I got to trust Dominick's right. If I would have thought after having a major stroke, everything going wrong, that a letter of intent for a documentary on my story, for a hospital network to be meeting me on Thursday to talk about what I can do with the hospital going forward, to talk about the number of books I'm now selling privately on my website. Dominick, I would have never believed it, but I trusted that you were putting out the truth. See, I took a liking to you, and I trusted that the content that you were putting out nonstop was the truth. And you know what? On those days that I could do no more than give you a like on Motivation Champs, I said, we'll see. That's all I did. I stayed open. We'll see. So I'm very happy that you put that content out every day. And if you're having a tough day today, trust me, people, you don't know how close you are to a miracle happening in your life. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Love that, Charlie. And you're 100% right. Dom shares amazing stuff all the time. I always get a smile when I see something that Dom's sharing. And I think that's exactly why he does it. Is knowing that other people it'll put a smile on other people's faces. And that's, I know that brings a smile to Dom's face, but, the other thing I wanted to point out, Dom, you were starting the list, you were listing off accomplishments, my book's coming out, everything that everybody's got going on. The thing I wanted to mention, I wanted to add to that list, is Dr. Tachi hasn't been in the room, for a couple of weeks. She hasn't been here with us, but she and her partner just launched Indie Soup Media. And so they're taking the media space on, and they're going to be on YouTube, Roku, Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Twitch, etc. And they're taking on traditional media and doing some cool stuff. So I just wanted to shine a light on that too. It's something she's been talking about for a while in here and has mentioned a bunch of times. But yeah, developing an OTT platform for media is a big deal, and I wanted to give her applaud her work there. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
All right, so let's do this. We call this a side quest. When on Bikes and Hikes, sometimes we go off and do a side quest during the episode. It's something completely different. So, Dr. Tachi, I need to know about this. Tell us what'd you call it? OTC? I need to know it. So, fill us in.
So, OTT means over the top, which basically means you access content through a set-top box like a Roku, Fire TV, etc. So that's what my producer / business partner Curtis and I are launching. We're called Indie Soup Media. We are the heart of the indie content creator, and we are basically tired of, that's where that whole everybody else gets congratulated thing came from. But then you're out there doing great stuff and nobody notices it. So it's like, well, we'll clap ourselves on the back and other creators who want to come along with us. So we are OTT definitely, but we are also going to be distributed amongst where else Tom said, also in the metaverse. So we will be in spatial in the metaverse as well. And right now we have 30 creators amongst 24 shows. So we have creators that are making shows for us. And yeah, we are very excited, and it's growing. And there's opportunity for anybody who thinks they have content that they can produce, that they would like to produce, to go to the website and fill out an application to become a creator with IndieSoup.
That sounds badass and like a lot of planning, Dr. Tachi. How long? So we talked about 10 years to build a brand. How long have you been developing to the point that you have to do something like this, to make a move like this?
Actually, only since November, but I've been preparing for this, I think, my entire life. I've been running live streams for people and doing video. Like, I've always done video and shot video for people, but in terms of running live streams for businesses and other show creators since 2012, and the same thing with Curtis. So we've always done this, and this is really just the natural progression, the next step, instead of just being a content creator. It's not just, because that's huge, but instead of only being a content creator, we decided we wanted to take it to the next level, because there is power in numbers. Like right now, just to say our reach is like 1 million, because we have an aggregation of all these content creators. So yeah, I've been preparing forever.
Dr. Tachi, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, now this is especially for Dr. Tachi. This is not the smartest guys in the room, but I know sometimes she checks out the live stream as a live streamer. So every week I decided to start, and Tom said I like to do things that make me smile. That is true. So every week, selfishly, I decided that on the live stream, I'm going to show you guys something that I have in my office or nearby that makes me smile. So, and Tom got a kick out of a Michael Jordan doll I had a few weeks ago. So today I'm pulling out another doll. This is an Andrew McCutchen doll. And you see, this was from Andrew McCutchen. He just came back to the Pirates, and he's the Pirates have lost for like 30 straight years. But Andrew McCutchen came, and we were good for a few years, and then we stunk, and now he came back. So I got my Andrew McCutchen back out. And on this McCutchen, he even has little braids on the back. So this is an extra special Andrew McCutchen. And when I look at this, it makes me smile. So that's what I got.
That is so much less creepy than the Jordan doll. So much less creepy. This doll I'm totally okay with. The Jordan doll is weird and a little bit creepy. And like Dr. Tachi said, look like a voodoo doll, right? This one does not look like a voodoo doll. It just looks like a doll. So yeah, and has normal arms and legs, but isn't just a torso with some weird bags of stuffing hanging off of it. But yeah, no, I like this one. I like this one.
Okay, you approve.
Yeah, not a fan of the Michael Jordan doll. Michael Jordan the player is a whole different thing. But yeah, not a fan of the Michael Jordan doll. But yeah, this one gets a thumbs up.
All right, good. I'll take a
Dom,
thumbs
I
up.
approve too.
Yeah, Dr. Tachi. But look, I mean, these dreads. Look at that. That is cool. That it has little dreads on it. Okay, we shall move on. Not the smartest guys in the room. We do this, whatever the hell you want to call it, every Wednesday. So we have Heather and then Jason, Julie, Prof T in the house, Jamie. Anybody that wants to come up here, raise your hand. Go on.
I was going to say, Dom, maybe we should start calling it a show. I was talking about seeing yourself the way other people see you, and Dr. Tachi's been calling this a show for like months.
I see it as a show too. That's what I see, you guys. I tune in your YouTube and I'm giving you the view. So the optics adds to you guys. So I consider you guys not the smartest guy show.
All right. So there it is. So maybe at least I should. I don't want to speak for you, but at least I should.
That's a long hashtag though. Not the smartest guys in the room show.
That's.
Well,
I mean,
don't have
we
to add
do
the show
hashtag,
part.
NTSG. NTSGR.
Okay, Jason, Tom, I like this. All right, Heather, give us a tip. Share something with us, Heather. What do you got?
Y'all have been all over the place today. I have no idea what topic we should.
Duh. I was going to ask somebody to reset the room. And Jason, one day I was in a room with Jason and he said, never reset the room. he said, you just go. And so I'm like, I kind of like that. And I was actually going to reset right around the time I was getting towards Jason. So then I was like, okay, I'm not going to reset. So Heather, you're on your own.
We do though. We just go wherever the wind takes us, wherever the boat gets driven. If you've been in the room long enough to get that reference. But yeah.
Doesn't it seem kind of a drag when you have to reset and you have to go back to the beginning? I think people have the cognites to understand, if you listen for 5 minutes, where your topic is really going, and letting it live, breathe in an ethos that people can get behind. Because when it's just only one thing, but it's like an umbrella of different things, then it works better for you. If you're sticking to one thing, okay, but then your time limit's like, okay, you could have talked about this issue and been done in 30 minutes, and then what? But people like conversation, integration, they like mingling and being asked their ideas. So I think you guys are doing just fine. Yeah, don't reset. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think too, like the thing that always kind of rubs me the wrong way is whenever you're in a space where like there is sort of a prescribed topic and they're always trying to like get things back on track because conversations sort of evolve, right? And they ebb and flow. Good ones do, and they meander sometimes. But I think whenever you've got somebody who's got a real narrow topic, the problem you run into is it just ends up feeling forced, right? Because they're always trying to like steer back to this very narrow thing that they had prescribed to begin with. And it's just like, you're always trying to like, square peg, round hole it, right? And it's like, why try to force fit it back into something like when it's become something else, right? So with that said, I'm just going to say to Heather, whatever peg you have to talk about today, feel free, because we, as from being in this room a bunch of times and hanging out with us often, which we love you for and appreciate you for, we let things go wherever they go. So whatever you got going on today, drop a tip, share some knowledge, whatever the case may be, the floor is yours.
Okay. So this is actually because I want people to understand that utilizing social media and not really having to post all the time, or using social media in a way that usually isn't used. Because I feel like people just kind of get stuck on like, post 2 to 3 times a day on your stories, post once a day. And it's just these like mechanical things. But like I really like to use like social media and like guerrilla marketing. So like for myself, I don't post often. And I, you know, I had a podcast, but I'm in transition right now because I'm waiting for my basement to be done, which is my new podcast space. Oh, there goes my birds. But, you know, right now I'm currently like, okay, I want to scale and bring on a couple new clients. And I have these like 3 restaurant groups that I'm kind of like stalking. And the other day I purchased, so like I'm utilizing LinkedIn to find these CEOs and then visiting their profiles every day to like get me on their radar. And then I purchased the monthly LinkedIn, and that actually gives you like if you're looking for a specific person or a specific restaurant group or business or whatever, and if you search for that business, it actually gives you more employees if you have like the LinkedIn premium. So I've been kind of like social stalking these entities, and I have an in already via like locally. It's just that I'm trying to get on the radar of these like CEOs and the COOs and, you know, the manager and, you know, all of that stuff. So that's what I've been doing lately. I've been really like under the radar because I move in silence and I like to grow in silence and do all that stuff, and then come out with like the press release of like, oh, she's working with this person, and people are like, what? She didn't even mention that. Well, like, duh, that's the point. So don't be afraid to use social media for stalking out business opportunities. I think that's like my tip, because right now that's what I've been doing for the past like 2 weeks. And then I'm gonna be like, okay, now I'm ready to go into location. I'm gonna speak with the manager. I used to actually work there back in the day when I was like 20. So I'm gonna ask the manager like, hey, where can I get my my work history with you guys? And then she'll give me a contact number over at corporate, and then I'll speak with them and get my work history, and then be like, oh, by the way, can I speak with your marketing department on, you know, so like there's this whole like have a strategy when you're doing this. And part of my strategy is LinkedIn. So I guess that's my tip. Just be okay with stalking out potential business opportunities.
Heather, I just want to say that I want to clip you talking about social stalking, and you need to put like social stalker in your bio. And but it's so true. Like, why not research and learn and connect and like somebody's stuff and comment on their stuff and say somebody that, like, we talk about funnels and leads and things like that. Well, if I wanted to work with somebody, why wouldn't I follow them? Why wouldn't I comment on their stuff? Why wouldn't I send them a message after the fact and say, hey, that was pretty cool? And then maybe they connect. Now they're in my vortex once they connect, right? My vortex is 24/7 motivation. So maybe they see Andrew McCutcheon and say, this guy's really weird. I'm going to look at another one of his posts. Okay. This guy, oh, he has authors. They share motivation 24/7. Now, when they write a book, maybe they say, I've been in this guy's vortex for a year or 2 years or 5 years. He's never asked me for shit. Maybe I'm going to reach out because I see that he doesn't have 2 heads. He seems like a decent human being. So I'm going to maybe do business with him. Seems like, Heather, you need to add social stalker to your bio, and we all need to do, hey, clip this. We all need to do some social stalking. Okay. Now we're moving on. Jason, man, what do you got to say about this? And we're going to Julie, Jamie, and Pierre. Go on, Jason.
There's not really many tips I can really talk about that hasn't been already mentioned. I like what Heather said about social media. For me, I didn't leverage social media for my podcast and my show very well. And so right now I'm going through a rebrand series. I'm going to be having a brand new show. And I'm also working with others on theirs too. So like I'm working with Julie and another guy named Dragon on My Big Idea on Mondays. So there's a lot of moving parts that are going on, but I think the best thing I could tell people is monitor what's actually on your plate. Keep an eye. If it becomes so overwhelming, leverage people and teams, make collaborations so that you're not doing all the work by yourself, and keeping a good balance between your work life, and family. Don't ignore your primaries. Really just focus in on those things, and everything works in its place and time. But you got to be diligent. You just got to be persistent and understand your role with that, not just be, okay, I did it in autopilot. So that's pretty much all I really got to say.
Jason, thanks, man. It reminds me of that oxygen mask theory. When the plane's coming down, if you want to save others, you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself first, so that you're able to make the impact you want to make. All right, Julie Loken in the hizzy. Okay, Julie.
In the hizzy, what the heck?
In the hizzy, yeah. We're dropping some Jay-Z here now. Go on. What do you got for us, Julie?
I have so much for you, but if we want to talk primarily about building our businesses, because as I'm looking at the audience, we're all in some way or form a brand, a business. We're entrepreneurs, we're creative. So we're talking about social media. It's great. I think Heather's amazing. I love that, the idea of like going silently, and you surprise people like, oh my gosh, where did this pop up from? Instead of tooting your own horn all the time, like, let's see some proof in the pudding, for reals, in the hizzy. But I just want to remind everyone the most important thing to do if you are an entrepreneur, creative, a business owner, author, you need to have a good website. A good website, rich with SEOs, and then second, that email list is marketing and building your business. And I think a lot of people forget about it. I would just love to know, like, how many people are on your email list? Seriously, I'd love just to hear numbers. Do people even focus on email lists? There's a lot of ways to get emails, but that is where your real peeps are, who love your brand. And don't forget to buy your URL if you have a really great idea. Buy it. It's like $20. Do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. We're Mike's still a little bit fuzzy. Hey, anybody, and Julie first, is there a good way to get emails? Should I be buying emails? Should I just be asking people for emails? Should I be going on school districts and cut and pasting all their emails from like?
No.
Oh my God, that's not best practices, Dominic. You know better than that.
Come on,
PTA email list.
I don't know. So somebody who said no.
It was me, Heather. So I'm going to say the best way, and I actually sent out a newsletter today from one of my clients, and they have a 41% open rate, which is like awesome. Over 6,000 emails in there. We ask on social media. We put on stories, join our newsletter to receive updated information, chef menus, updates on beer, stuff like that. We put that on in the stories with a direct link. We put it on in Twitter with a direct link. We put it on Facebook with a direct link. We do screenshots. So like I'll do like a video recording of the newsletter itself and then use that as a video and then do a call to action to say like sign up for our newsletter. And then that goes to a form and then they sign up for it if it's like MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever newsletter you have. But please do not buy emails. Please do not farm emails. Putting them in newsletters. Please do not do that.
And guys, do you all have a LinkedIn newsletter? Because that is thebomb.com. The ROI and LinkedIn newsletters are insane. Seriously. You should be writing one right now. You should jump off the stage and go start writing a LinkedIn newsletter.
I do, and I'm all right with that. If anybody's ever in our room and something comes up and you get so much value out of it that you say, I'm leaving this room to go do that, I understand, and please do, and we'd be happy that. So I'm in other rooms sometimes. If you see me fall off, and like I could jump right in, and I'll be like, so Heather, back it up here. I need. So I use MailChimp. Are you telling me there's a link that I could use from MailChimp where I could share it in like a Twitter post or something like that, or on Facebook, and says, hey, sign up for our newsletter and it'll just populate my MailChimp for me?
Yes.
Damn
Yeah.
it. Where you been?
You know, like, have you written a LinkedIn newsletter? Because I did one for a client, and within like 12 hours, he had almost 2,000 subscribers to his newsletter. It's LinkedIn loves themselves some newsletters. And I don't think I've
Interesting.
ever gotten an email from you, Dominick. I mean, like a newsletter or a mass email, if you will. But I think I do newsletters for clients. I do newsletters for myself. It's a great way to get their attention in their LinkedIn email, and you can get their emails too and translate that into your MailChimp mail list as well. So
Got it.
if you're not doing that, that is like the number one thing to do right now.
Okay, good stuff. All right. I do them about quarterly. Every once in a while bi-monthly, but I suck at getting emails. It's not something that I've ever had a good strategy.
Well, for
to
anybody
do.
in the room, I will say, if you have a newsletter and you have social media, put that into your social media strategy. So let's see, newsletter Mondays, right? So like every Monday you post about your newsletter and a link to the sign up form so they can opt into your newsletter. Like you have to add that to your social strategy and like your content pillars so that people can sign up for your newsletter, because they won't know about it if you don't tell them about it.
Brilliant, good stuff. And I will say too, just as like Julie with MediaCasters and stuff, one of the things that's so obvious when I look at her media is that she takes people off of Facebook and stuff and gets them to her platform where she has ownership of. We talk a lot about, like distribution on Facebook, on TikTok. Well, what if TikTok gets banned? What are you going to do? Like Charlie had mentioned the other day, his account gets froze. Well, there is such value in owning the domain, the URL, where your content is. And I love all these other platforms, distribution platforms, Facebook, Twitter, but to own it, there is value in that. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. We are rolling. We got to talk to Jamie and Pierre. So, Jamie, what do you got for us? Give us a tip.
Hi, guys. Julie's got it with LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn again, really, really focusing. I can't wait to do my own little weekly thing. Probably going to be in the horror genre and voiceover, but we'll see how that goes. It's really helped. LinkedIn, I signed up for that free month. I did the same thing. I did it with IMDb recently. Now I actually don't have it because I got to sign back in. IMDb Pro. When you go in there for the first month for free, you can look at anything you need. So the two things I would love to promote is look on your LinkedIn and look on your IMDb's, especially with those the paid subscriptions. You can look up the people you want to work with and work backwards from there. So you want to be at Disney? Well, go to Disney and figure out who's there. Then eventually you'll get to the right person. That's my pointer.
Jamie, we'll take it. You any big events over in the U.S. or where you got any events coming up soon?
Well, I'm up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I am lucky to say that this Saturday, Sunday will be my first horror convention ever with my Skinamarink family. The Skinamarink family is going to be showing up and chatting and signing and meeting all these other great horror people. I'm thrilled. I'm very excited. And I even got bigger news than that. I got myself an agent. I got myself an agent that specializes with people with ADHD or any disability, and I cannot wait to support the community and get out there because these guys are being so proactive. I'm thrilled. So I'm getting out there, and you guys, just like what Charlie said earlier, Dom and Tom, you guys like kept me going too. You did. And my ADHD get me off sidetracked or make me feel like maybe I can't do it. But, you know, uh, I did it 5 years ago. You guys said it this morning. Where did you think you would be in this much time? Well, You got to set the goal. You don't move the post technically. I say you pivot. I call it pivot. But I'm Jamie Hill. I got to pivot now. I got to go shopping. I am so glad I popped in here. I miss you guys. It's been a time. I've been filming and having fun that way. But you guys really make my heart refill and makes my eagerness to refill. Let you guys know and come back. I'll be back next week, and I can't wait to tell you what it was like to meet all these like lovely people in horror that are from like our history of horror films. So everybody take care. I'm gonna drop the mic now.
Amy, thank you. Good luck out there. Good luck with the voiceover and all you got going on. Good to hear from you. Okay, I was talking to Jamie made me think of something. The other day, my daughter told me something about school, and somebody said, the sky's the limit. And I appreciate you guys like commenting on the motivational stuff and me putting out content and that. So instantly, because sky's the limit. What a motivational thought, but then instantly, because I study it, research, and I've read this stuff for 25 years and tried to live by the principle, instantly I responded to my daughter, well, that's bullshit. I said, there's footprints on the moon. The sky, and there's the quote, the sky's not, how could the sky be the limit when there's footprints on the moon? But I had to reach out that even in that second where somebody gave my daughter a motivational concept that the sky was the limit, even that wasn't enough for me, because there's footprints on the moon. And then we started talking, well, this guy's building a rocket and soon we'll be on Mars and all kind of stuff like that. So any thought that there is a limit or enough or it can't be done, I want to live in a world where it can be. And I'm consumed by that belief that it can be done. So you brought that out of me, Jamie. So thank you. All right, now to Pierre. What do you got for us, Pierre?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, man, you sound good.
Okay, great. Good. I was going to say good afternoon. Good morning. A little bit sleep deprived. I've been writing for the last several hours since early this morning. Real quick, I think for the room in general, just for podcasts in general, one quick tip I'm going to give, and it's going to be more of an analytics tip, and may tie into a little bit about there's an earlier discussion about resetting the room a little bit. We hear about content all the time, but you want to let anything with analytics or anything with numbers help you to kind of decide how well your content is doing. I think we get this, to what Heather brought up earlier about social media, posting so many days and that type of stuff. We hear this all the time, all over the place, and we tend to think of it as marketing gospel in some ways. But to be honest with you, they're tactics, and to get the value out of it, you just need at least be able to organize some of those tactics to your advantage. And how you organize depends upon your workflow, just how you are set up, whether it's just you or just a team. One of the things you can do, even simply, is to if you get tied up with a lot of things in terms of just producing your podcast or show, make it a quarterly event where you sit down and do a little bit of brainstorming, something similar to what Heather brought up. Kind of not so much going dark entirely where people can't reach you, but definitely finding a library, sitting down and figuring out which platforms are consistently sending you people to your podcast to listen or to download. Even getting a semblance of that, even if it just gives you a minor idea, might give you a better sense of where you should be spending your time, where you should be spending your marketing time, and can probably even help your narrative when you're getting sponsorship. So and one quick point I want to bring up, you mentioned about resetting the room. I think one of the things that resetting a room does is that when you get replays, people don't always it doesn't always play out that people understand what's going on. I'm not sure if I entirely you get people meandering a little bit, and sometimes you do need a reset to let people know, and that can make a big difference when you're replaying the room in the replay. Sometimes that really helps people understand what something is about. And I think even if you go back and listen to your audio a little bit, not you personally, but just in general, you might be able to figure out, maybe there might be some ideas to pivot off of that. I mean, just for me to even suggest that part and with the analytics came from just listening and even a discussion about replay or resetting the room. So that's something to think about, and I hope that helps everybody out. And thank you.
Pierre, that's good stuff, man. And if you are in business, if like part of business, I believe, is understanding the benchmarks and metrics, and I'm sure that each of us in our goals, we might have these benchmarks and metrics as well. So there's nothing wrong with looking at these metrics, especially when you're trying to use, well, I want to get my message out on Instagram, and you see, well, people really resonate with your message on TikTok and they don't on Instagram. Okay, well, I would think that it would be smart to spend more time on TikTok, or Facebook's my number one. I'm doing so much better there. Well, spend more time there. It's common sense. So, Pierre, I love it, man. I think where people get off track is, let's say a message of that I believe that not to quit, to not give up, that hold on for one more day, 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 one more day. That's what I believe. So let's say I put that out and I get one view. And to believe that what happens to people is they get that one view and they're crushed by it. And they believe that that is some assessment of their message, that there's not any good because it got one view. Well, that's bullshit. And I mean, it could be wrong time, wrong day, because you just started and your account has one person, so one person saw it. Remember, like I hear back in the space when you start, back in the day when you started on MySpace, you had one friend or something. And so, I mean, of course, only one person was going to see it. Or if you put out a message on Snapchat when you only had one person connected, well, of course, but that doesn't diminish the value of that message. So don't let the metrics internally diminish that value. Okay, we're moving on. We got Mr. and Amanda, and Tom's going to wrap us up. I never met Mr. before, so it says surfing on space water, student of the study. I didn't know there was water in space. Okay, go. Yeah, that's a good answer. So, Mr., what do you got for us? Share a tip, ask a question. Oh, he didn't like my space water joke. I thought that was funny.
Nah, that's a buddy. Actually, you have met him before in my room, Dom. It's been a while, but he managed a lot of things. Yeah, that's one of my co-hosts. Yeah.
Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How y'all doing?
Okay, Mr. Jason's vouching for you because I thought you didn't like my jokes. So what do you got? Give us a tip or ask a question.
I mean, honestly, man, when I've been listening to you for at least 30, 45 minutes here going on now. But we spoke before. I think it was like maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah, I remember now that once you and I was in your guys' room before. Go on. What do you got?
So what really stuck out was the question or the statement in regards to doing the email list. So when I first started doing podcasting or just doing entertainment and the digital servicing, it was different for me. I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what I was trying to do, because when I went to college for video production, so this is a different medium in a sense, but it's almost the same. So when I stepped in here and listened to you guys talk about the newsletters, I've never done a newsletter in my life. So I wouldn't even know how to go about putting that into motion. So if there's some kind of information somebody can give me, let me know so I can go ahead and apply that. But yeah, I really don't have much to say. I'm more or less taking notes, gaining knowledge and insight from each and every individual on the platform. So yeah, man, just continue speaking the truth, man. I'm here with it.
Julie and Heather would be my recommendations. They do it well, and they both do it well.
So Heather, I use MailChimp for my things, and they have, and I'm simple. I'm using the templates. I use a template when I send out the letters. And I was told by a marketing guy one time, funnel everything down right to the final ask. So there's always one block down at the bottom that is like contact or email or buy or whatever. Don't have 30 ask in that email. It's one thing to whatever I'm going for. But Heather, you are much better at it than me. So what do you got?
So in regards to like the newsletters, first, definitely make sure that you are branded and everything is cohesive first, because the worst thing to do is to create a website and social media and a newsletter that all look disconjointed. Because then nobody's going to really trust the offer. Nobody's really going to trust the newsletter. Nobody's going to really trust to click through. And, that even goes with load times, right? So just make sure that your brand is on point before you even start a newsletter, because you're just going to look silly. Number 2 is, I use MailChimp, Constant Contact. Constant Contact, I believe you have to pay. MailChimp, they have a free version up to a specific amount of email addresses. So if you're just starting out, MailChimp might be the best for you. There's templates in there. Pick one that kind of matches your brand the best. You can even edit it to match perfectly with your brand through the text, the blocking, the design, all of that stuff. And then you need to make sure that you put a newsletter section on your website, so that, if you don't have a call to action, or for your call to action, right? Because you want people to sign up for your newsletter. So utilize social media, utilize your website, utilize the newsletter form that comes with MailChimp. So I believe it's like under forms subscription or something like that, where you click on it and then it gives you like a page where you can edit. And then that page is directly on MailChimp or Constant Contact, where you utilize that link, and they'll even provide you with a short link, where then it takes people to that specific form to sign up for your newsletter. They even have like widgets that you can put on your website. If you're using WordPress, there are integrations through plugins. But if you're just starting, get your brand on point, create your first newsletter so you have it in like already ready to go. And then go to that sign up area to create that sign up form so that people can sign up for your newsletter, get that link so you can send it to people, because you can't buy email addresses anymore. I remember when I was in newsletters way back, I think that was one of the first things I started with, newsletters and WordPress websites. And you would be able to buy a whole list of newsletter email addresses. I had a client who had over like 5,000 email addresses, and he like sold it. Like you could do that, but you could get in trouble. Like any newsletter that comes into my inbox and I have not signed up for that, they have a potential of being sued, and they have a potential of losing money and getting in trouble with guidelines, federal and state guidelines in regards to newsletters and text like SMS and stuff. So just brand on point. Get your newsletter in order. Like, what is your offer, right? You got to figure out what your offer is. Get that in a newsletter, and then start to get people to sign up for that newsletter. And then, I don't know, maybe if you get the first 50 people, maybe even 10 people, you can send that first newsletter out. And then you have to be consistent with the newsletter. My client, I've been doing their newsletter every Wednesday for the past 5 years. Every Wednesday for the past 5 years. And that's why we have a 41% open rate. Because we have been doing it every Wednesday for the past 5 years, never missed a beat. And we offer something in there every time. Like, here's our chef menus, but you won't see the chef menus on social media until the day after. Was my phone going off? You get exclusive access to chef menus before anybody else does. So just think about consistency, brand on point, email, your offer in your newsletter, and then start getting those emails.
Mister, how was that? Spectacular, Heather. Thank you.
I think I got arthritis in my hand from taking all these notes. But yeah, I got it, bro. Appreciate you.
Me too, man. Hey, I was writing. I'm like, see, I almost left the room to go do that stuff. Okay, now we got Amanda, and then Tom's going to take us home because me and Andrew McCutcheon here have had enough. Okay, Amanda, you got a tip for us, or you want to ask a question? Go on, my friend.
Hey, Dom. Hey, Tom. Hey, everyone. So I was in and out because I had some meetings going on, but I did catch something you were talking about, Dom, where basically it was, let's say you have one view or something like that, and you only have one follower, don't let it discourage you. That is the story of my life on every single social media. And a lot of that has to do with consistency because, number one, my day-to-day is all over the place. It's like physically impossible for me with all the stuff I'm doing to be consistent anywhere. So I try to at least post something, which is better than nothing. But with that being said, and I know I'm not the only one that struggles with this, right? Because anybody, first of all, you work a full-time job, you have kids, that's it. I mean, you have no time. So, and anything else you do on top of that, you really have no life. So I get it. So for me, one thing to remember is, and you might get discouraged. I would get discouraged constantly. But I just wanted to share this quick little thing that happened to me was I got approached by somebody for a scientific advisory board. And it was dealing with the environment and carbon dating and all this stuff that's, I don't even know what it is, right outside of my wheelhouse. But the point was because I do research on the back end, I know data science and data analytics, and they're like, I have no idea how the hell to analyze this data and this analytics. So I need somebody who knows that. We'll get you up to speed, hopefully, on the scientific stuff. But anyway, I say that because they found me, and believe it or not, people fall off their chair, not on LinkedIn, but through TikTok. And everybody laughed at me when I started a TikTok because they said, you're in data and all this stuff. Nobody wants to listen to you. It's all dancing. It's entertainment. You look like an idiot pretty much. Don't waste your time. But guess what? That was a pretty awesome opportunity that did not come from LinkedIn. And I do not have a big following. And yet he went on there, the CEO of this company, and he's like, hey, I like the content you're putting out. You seem knowledgeable in the space. And I asked, I was like, so wait, TikTok? not LinkedIn, TikTok. And he's like, yeah. And so, I mean, if you get a chance to look at my TikTok, I have maybe 500 followers. I mean, it's small. I was consistent at one point, but not consistent enough. But the point is, don't get discouraged, okay? Because you don't know who's looking on the back end and who's seeing your content. Maybe you don't have 1 million likes, maybe you don't have 1 million followers, but depending on what you post, it could be relevant to somebody and get you some really cool opportunities. And so I wanted to share that to give hope to, if you're like me and kind of struggling out here, don't give up because things will come to you. But anyway, thanks for the room, and I'll yield the mic.
Hey, I want to jump on something that Amanda just said. So I love this. So, people laughed at her for going on TikTok because everybody else is doing crazy dance stuff and acting foolish. And she's here, talking about her business, giving value, but doing it in probably an energetic, exciting way. And she stands out from the rest of the crowd because she's different. It's like that story of the shoe company that sent a salesman to Bora Bora to sell shoes. And after 2 weeks, he came back and didn't sell a single pair of shoes because he said, nobody wears shoes on the island. So another salesman went, and 2 weeks later, he came back and he broke all of the company's sales records. And they asked him, well, how did you do it? He said, it was easy. Nobody has shoes on Bora Bora. They were a wide open market. So it's all about perspective. And I love what you're doing, Amanda. So keep it up and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And on that note, Amanda, what is your TikTok? I'm going right to it. What should we be following over there?
I think it's Amanda Analytics. I don't even know anymore. Let me look right now and tell you.
Amanda Analytics.
But yeah,
okay.
it's Amanda. Yep, it's Amanda Analytics. I wanted to
Okay.
make sure I didn't change it up or anything.
Analytics. Okay. And that's a good point of just for anybody on here, whether it's TikTok, anywhere. I've talked about this before. Jack Welch used to talk about first to market. And if you can't be first, you can be second, okay, third, fourth, whatever. So Amanda is doing data analytics. I wonder before Amanda, how many people were doing data analytics on TikTok. So now we know there's 1 billion people on TikTok. And now if they are interested in data analytics, how many people doing data analytics are there? Amanda and somebody else, so my thing is always, if you do you, let's say if you're going to be you and do you, nobody else is doing that. So if you double down, triple down on being you on any of those platforms, somebody's not doing that yet. So that's all I got for you. Now, I've been looking at Tom. He's handsome as ever. This is not the smartest guys in the room. And Tom is going to take us home, take us somewhere, send us off into the sunset. Do something, Tom. Thank you, brother.
Well, hopefully not send us off into the sunset, because it's I know we're not all in the same time zone, but it's 11:10 here in New York in the Hudson Valley. So hopefully I won't be talking until sunset, because that's not until like 8:30 tonight. But yeah, no, it's funny that you talked about authenticity, right? In what you were just saying in response to Amanda, and how she's showing up on TikTok, is that she was showing up as herself. And that actually kind of led perfectly into what I had just decided literally seconds ago I wanted to talk about in this wrap up. And it's really sort of a combination of a few things. But the first is that, when you talk about social media, often people get caught up. You were talking earlier about people getting discouraged if they only get like a view on social media. And I think, and people get discouraged because like they don't have the biggest audience on social media, right? And I think people get really caught up in those numbers and those metrics. And this goes back to what we started talking about, right? Sort of junk metrics, right? Like to some degree, the number of followers you have, right? And the number of views you get or impressions you get on social media are junk metrics, right? Because you always have to remember, you always have to look at it through the lens of the fact that the social media platform, right, the company that makes money off of your time on the platform, right, has everything they do is designed to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. And that includes the data they give you and how they harvest that data, right? And how they present it to you is all designed to get you chasing something that you can never really get, right? And so you get a lot of people who are on social media, stuck on social media, stuck chasing these metrics, chasing views, chasing impressions, chasing followers, right? And they're never going to be satisfied with what they get. It's sort of it's a treadmill. It's a hamster wheel, right? You're never going to get anywhere, but you're just going to keep going after these numbers, after these metrics. And ultimately all you're doing is giving your attention and your time to these platforms, which is how they make money, right? Now, all that is to say, I'm not anti-social media. I have a social media presence on a bunch of different platforms. But what I don't do is I don't chase followers, and I don't chase views, and I don't chase metrics. What I do is I show up as myself, right? I show up as who I am. And I'd be willing to bet that however Amanda was presenting herself on TikTok was authentic to who she is and how she works and how she sees the world, right? And her particular lens that she sees data through. And that is why that company's CEO reached out to her. Not because she's the only person doing data analytics on TikTok, because I would bet money she's not, right? It's not about what she was doing as much as it's about how she was doing it. Another example comes to mind. There's a creator on TikTok, V, who does under the desk news. So anybody who has spent a bunch of time on TikTok and actually other platforms, V has ended up, I believe her pronouns are they, them. They've ended up on lots of different platforms with other creators, with huge audiences being asked to come and do analysis and present news and information because of the way they present information on TikTok, which is literally laying on the floor under a desk talking about the news. It's called Under the Desk News. They have a huge following. They've been massively successful. And it's not because they present news. It's because of how they present the news, right? So all of that is to say that whatever you're doing, on whatever platforms you're on, whether you're sending newsletters or creating videos on TikTok or on other social media, or writing long form posts on Facebook, whatever it is you're doing, just be sure that it is authentically representative of who you are. Be sure that the way you're doing it is unique to you, right? Don't chase what somebody else is doing. Don't chase followers. Don't chase metrics. Don't chase views. Do it the way you uniquely do it. right? The way you see the world, make sure that authenticity comes through. Be relentlessly authentic, because at the end of the day, that is what is going to bring you the audience that you were after all along, right? That authenticity is what's going to bring you the kind of audience that you can actually forge a real connection with, and the kind of audience community, right? The kind of community that you really want to surround yourself with. So just remember that as you go out and create these newsletters and create this content across social media, be you and make sure that you show up in everything that you do and everything that you put out there. That's all I got for everybody this week. Thank you all so much for being here. As always, we love you guys. You guys are the reason why we do this show. That's right. I called it a show for the first time, I think. This is not the smartest guys in the room. I'm Tom. On behalf of Dom, we love you guys so much. Thank you for being here with us every week. And we will see you next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern for yet another episode of this show, Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We love you guys. Bye-bye.